It's a great time to be a mean green fighting machine as the orc player base is getting leaner. We're actually getting more results than our past meta. And so orcs are shining through with those that remain pushing through the meta tide. But what are these orc players bringing? Today on WAAAGH Wednesday, we have the stats and the facts, the honorable mentions of the orc players that have been doing best for the last 2 weekends. And then top player coverage. I actually do have notes from one of the players that I'm going to review today. It was exciting to show off. One thing to take away from this weekend is that from the 6 lists that you're going to be able to look at today, at least review the names of the players and the events, that 3 of those 6 lists had 20-man units of Snagas with the boss on them. So something to take away from the orcs developing is that that's what orc players seem to be leading to. Oddly, seeing even hunter rigs and so much more. So thank you for everybody who's being here. Time to get stuck in, lads. I see all you guys here live chat, of course. So we do have the vote for the honorable mentions and a bunch of things to get stuck in with. So of course, we have the paint competition. Make sure you get involved in that. Gork and Mork are the ones. Of course, we do accept proxies or prints, but they should look accordingly and meet the dimensions. So 5/18 is the due date for that mod gets. And of course, let's start off with the stats and the facts, like always. I should have done that actually before the paint comp. Sorry. But here we go. This was actually from the 11th to the 25th because I just wanted to look at what the orcs have been doing recently, at least for these stats. So the players, not that many, it was 53 as the last couple of weekend. We're about a 48% win rate, which is actually considered multi to GW, but we're at the lower end for us. Now, when we look at the overall detachments, this isn't as of just the last 2 weekends because you can see the players showing for War Horde, for example, is a huge representation. But we can still see how the detachments are doing as a whole as we go through this. So Green Tide doing best by percentage. It is actually quite popular. Like always, the Green Tide is a awesome choice for the counter meta when people get vehicle heavy or elite infantry heavy. We know the 40K Dirtbag, shout out to him. He got first place with the Green Tide list, which is a great call, and he's a great, excellent Horde player. So check that out. Well, they're holding the top win rate up there. Shout out to Derek. Then we go to Cult of Speed with 50 or 47, which is catching people off guard. We actually do have an honorable mention we're going to shout out that was a Cult of Seed player in singles that did well. So even though the player base count is pretty low, the people who do figure it out and have the models, because I know the models, people, they're expensive or kind of finicky to use, whatever, are making it work. And it was a different twist than even what I've been showing. So shout out to Cult of Speed. I'm very excited for them. But of course, the bulk of the orc community is the War Horde, which we do have plenty of War Horde that we can talk about today. But as I said, we did even see 20 Snagga Boys in War Horde, which I do think is an awesome call. And also, what we're also seeing in just about every War Horde list is the dynamic trio of Gaz, Snickrot, and Zod. I'm seeing that all over the place too. So awesome for War Horde that people are still running. Of course, it's a very fun detachment. Just because people don't want to play it or you hear people redundantly bringing it up, there's no reason why you should stray away from it. It's built to play orcs, and a lot of people are having a great time with just getting gas stuck in so quickly. Then we go to more DACA, a bunch of little crazy gets down there hanging out. There was more Prairie hanging out there with that detachment. We might see some development there as the new Freebooters detachment comes out. We'll see if that player base goes even lower. But more DACA trying to make it work in any other way is very difficult and finicky. So shout out to them gets that are trying to use it. My favorite way has also been using like trucks or wagons, like vehicles with firing deck, because their stratagems still work for that. So there is some kind of play in there, but it's really weird. Then we go to Bully Boys, which, I don't want to be pessimistic, but as much as I love Bully Boys for like a casual beer and pretzel, just hanging out in one-off games with people that you just want to have fun with and using some particular tough models and low volume of units, Bully Boys is cool, double wall, but man, it's suffering in the meta with the -1 damage and the output that they can actually perform, the katans existing. It's just Bully Boys are not just doing a great job. It's not that I hate the units that are involved in it. It's just not doing a great job. And I see that it's just not really getting more and more popular as weeks go out. It's staying pretty stagnant on the player count. The percentage just keeps dropping. So if you're competitive, I do think that there are kind of things you can move away from. But if you're just having fun and you play a local store and such, just keep playing Bully Boys because I love Double Wall. So there's nothing wrong with it. Just trying to pull that out. Like, for example, the Big Hunt. So the Big Hunt, we just did a stream before this one, like 30 minutes ago, with Stephen Paprine, who went undefeated at an event with with the Big Hunt. And even he himself said, yeah, I know the percentage is pretty low, and we are hanging out with the bad win rate, and I hang out in the Discord and I talk about it, but nonetheless he's having a great job, he's playing it, and so many people still can, but you do have to innovate, right? So I think that you should go check that one out for the more updated version of how you can play the Hunt and things to take away from that. But even there, 20-man units of snagging, that's not a new innovation, right? If you've been watching the channel or watch any of my the Hunt content, you know that I love the 20-man unit. So yeah, excellent. Even though player base isn't showing for these last couple detachments, I know there are some particular, skilled gets out there. Then we have the Tactical Brigade. So Tactical Brigade is probably the biggest letdown. I think that's the biggest letdown because everybody was finally ready for a Mork representation, a cunning tactical version of Orks, and GW just completely dropped the ball, abandoned it, hated our combined arms efficiency, didn't like Orks with a brain. I don't blame them. At that point, we're essentially corks, right? And then we just take over the universe. So GW couldn't handle Tactical Brigade. It's fine, but we all know we love it. And it's weird because between Mordaka and Freebooter Krew, it's like you're trying to have like a shooting detachment there that you want to use or style of Orks, and then Dread Mob at the same time. But in reality, we all know Tactical Brigade is supposed to be the best combined arms version of that. A couple of guys out there like Brandon, shout out to Brandon that we covered, talked to him about Tactical Brigade. They're trying to make that work. Then Dread Mob. The one thing I can say about Dread Mob is, even though the player base is the worst percentage wise, which is fine because shout out to all the crazy gets in the Discord that keep trying to make the stopper work between Mordaka and Dread Mob, which I love. But that's why this win percentage is down here like that. Whoa, right? They're just like, whatever. End of the edition, everybody's having a good time. I have a good time. I'm here for it. And you can see the whole Ork community is too, because it's the second most popular detachment with 110 players. So shout out to Dread Mob. A lot of the time, I do think there is some good stuff there. I definitely do. But for the most part, at least half the people are just memeing out, and I'm here for it. I'm totally cool with it. Speed of memeing out, do that pain competition. So with that being said, let's talk about the honorable mentions. Speaking of the most honorable mention, the Bad Dog with another 5-wall tactic gifted memberships. Shout out to you, get wall supporting the wall. I got my eye taken out. The mech had to come put a new eye in for me, so thank you for that. Because I had to pay with some teeth. So the Bad Dog helping out the Great Wall to support it as the big war boss was down. So thank you very much. It means a lot from this stream and last stream. So very generous of you. The Bad Dog holding up the wall for the rest of us. So thank you. Check out the Bad Dog in our memberships. And can we get some gases in the chat for the Bad Dog? The most honorable mention as we have here. And of course, we have the polls, right? Speaking of the Bad Dog and being awesome, you should get stuck in on this poll that we have here for the honorable mention. So we're going to have 4 lists that you can vote on, that I'll actually review one of these based off what the live community does. So let's go over this. We got Johan Hastivos at the Talistova GT. He went 4-1 with his Cult of Speed list. There was at this event, because there's another player that came from this event that did good this event weekend, but he made it to the shadow rounds, right? So you had to actually make it and qualify for the final bracket. So he made it to the final bracket and lost the very final round, just to make it clear with his Cult of Speed. So this wasn't like losing the first game or losing a second game kind of thing. This was making it to the shadow rounds by getting really high with like 100-point games and then coming out, just to make it clear. Then we go to Nicolas Osalani. Hopefully I said that right, but Osalani. But he went 5-0. He didn't qualify for the shadow round bracket, but he did the best out of anybody that wasn't in that shadow round bracket. And he was playing War Horde at this same event. So shout out to these 2 gets. Then we have Nathan Blackshipson. Again, he was I think he took his actual loss. He went 6 rounds, and he took his loss in the 4th round, playing his War Horde list. So shout out to that at the Big Beef Beatdown, playing with War Horde getting stuck in. So you see, we got just like we were showing in the stats, you know, the majority of people play War Horde, but you can always get about 50 results of half of them will be War Horde, and then the other half will be the rest of the Ork detachments, which is really actually healthy, guys, for the Ork community. You guys be proud of that. A lot of most other armies in 40K can't say that their other detachments can get even these kind of results, right? So let's get some gases in chat. Thank you, dads, for doing that. I appreciate that. Then we have a kind of twister here that I've never done before, but I felt like doing it this one time. We have Vinicus Cabral, which I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. Fun name though. He went 3-2. Typically, I don't throw 3-2 lists unless there's some kind of caveat. And the caveat here, and this was Springs. It's a weird GT name, Springs Thunder Cluckers. Okay, so weird long name GT, but he was actually playing the Freebooter Krew, and the 2 losses he took were 2 people who finished in the top 5. Right, so he was actually playing a very efficient list, getting good scores, had strong matchups, and he was playing a version of the Mork Perry archetype, in my opinion. That's what it looked like when I glanced over it. So because it was one of the first time I seen someone actually playing the Freebooter Krew at an event and at a GT, and he did relatively well. He was like in the top 20 or something like that. Like I believe he maybe even better, but so I wanted to give him a shout out because he's seen the new detachment, went against whatever, all the theory hammer, and just actually went out there and got stuck in. So I appreciate you getting an honorable mention. And then, as I said earlier in the stream, we have Stephen Paprine, who went 4-0-1 at Springs, the same GT as this get. Stephen got like 3rd place, I believe. And he was playing the Big Hunt. So he's not up for the vote for us to review it because we just reviewed it in the live stream. Go check that one out where he talked about it himself. And yeah, so make sure you guys, if you're live, make your vote onto this and let it be known in the chat. And thank you guys in the chat for all the walls. We got the Gloom Rotters, Arcane, Dads again, Arcane again, and then the Flynn. Let's go, Gits. And of course, as he's saying, like I said, Dan Stevo, hopefully I said that right, 78. Those Beast Snagger boys are nasty. They absolutely are, man. It's so underappreciated, especially alongside Gas, which everybody's taking Gas. Like I said, so between the list I'm about to show you that I chose, right, how the show always goes, as I choose a list, you guys choose a list, and then sometimes there's another one thrown in there. But the point is that the list that I chose, guess what it has on it as well? 20 Snaggers, right? What does Steven have? 20 Snaggers. I think it was Nathan. I think he had 20 Snaggers as well, right? So it's like I'm making, and now I feel like I got to check because I can't say that and then not actually know for sure. Am I lying? No, he did too. All right, so cool. Yeah, Nathan had 20 Snaggers, right? So it's like, okay, guys, and we're on the song. We've been saying it, and now it's coming through fruition. Let's get on top of this, boys. Which I'm pretty excited. Maybe a little biased, but it's okay. We can always be biased. Now let's, as long as we say it out loud, right? The next we move into the list that I picked, and of course, shout out to Charles Dupes because he actually reached out to me. Like I always say, if you're watching this and you have a good list or it's a result, even if you have just your best result, you can reach out to me. Let me know stuff. You never know if I'll cover the list. Ultimately, I like to hear the results anyway. So make sure you guys feel free to reach out to me like he did, but then it actually made it known that this actually happened. He was able to get some notes from him. So we're going to have some first-hand accounts from this get as for how it went, his matchups, the missions, and some thoughts. And of course, we're going to have some thoughts because there are some new tech here like I've been alluding to. So let's see. We have, starting off, it's the War Horde. So he went 4-0-1. He did draw a draw, and the draw was in the middle of this 5-round event. So his 3rd round. So let's take a look at his list. We have a Beast Boss with Cunning Babrul, a Big Mac with Drilla and the Tractor Blaster with the enhancement of Follow Me Lads for the wombo combo of Gas plus the Big Mac, and then here we go. So you're hoofing it downfield, minimum 14 inch shuffling. It's fantastic. Then we go to Mazrog's Scrag Bag. So there are no pigs. He is not leading anything. This is fully solo Mazrog. Yeah. that was another thing that got me excited. Solo Maz. Now he does have some thoughts about that. We're going to talk about his MVP units. We're going to talk about what he would change and such. But just so I don't forget and overlook it, he did say that he did, think Miles was relatively decent. Like we all think, is that he just could have done better and he's still a little too much for his points. Yet for his cost and what he was doing, there's nothing right there that he finds like a good trade out just yet. So if you're already wondering, yeah, Maz does perform at this event enough that he didn't hate him and he didn't throw the games with him. But yeah, he was kind of still in the chopping block. But he had a good time with Maz. Absolutely loved to see it. He loved the 4-up invuln that he has and just a threat, right? The opponent has to allocate resources to him. Maz is kind of relatively small and durable in his own way. So happy to see Maz get on the field and actually get on the performing list. Then we have Zagrat Wartsnagger. So people still sleep on Zod. It's okay. I understand a little finicky to use super grats, but very, very efficient alongside gas. So as you can see, we're looking at 3 mobs on this list already. So we have 20 Snaggers to go with the Beast Boss and Cunning but Brutal. We have 20 boys to go with Gazgul Thraka. And then we have Zagrat Wartsnagger and his Super Gretchen. So that's 3 individual mobs with their own utility. So then we move to a single truck with 5 flash kits and a unit of tank busters in there with the shock attack gun. So he does have some DACA support here, and this is going into that 1 truck. He then has 2 individual minimum sized unit of Gretchen, 1 hunter rig because he couldn't afford a battle wagon. So he says the hunter rig, it just doesn't enough. So the 20-man unit of boys is safe at least for 1 turn, and it doesn't get popped so easily. People sleep on this. 135 points. It does act as good, decent bait. So really happy to see that. Just find another cool unit to get on the list. Always play what you guys got, right? Don't always try to stick to what people are known as meta, because as you see, the stuff just breaks out sometimes over weekends, and it's really just people making stuff work the way they outside the box. Be innovating with Orks. So you have a deep codex. So I like that we still brought the hunter rig off the shelf, dusted it off. So that was just for shuffling around the 20 Snagger boys. He had 10 commandos, which he absolutely loved having those 10 commandos. They were very important to him. 2 5-man units of Storm Boys, and then 1 Warbiker unit. So he loved that. He had a Storm Boy unit for scoring, but for skirmishing as well. The Warbiker was for skirmishing. The Bandos were able to split up, take up space, deny reserve space, and then maybe even skirmish once in a while too. And then the flash kit. So those were his skirmishing units / scoring units, while these 3 mobs were moving forward based off how he moved it. Now, keep in mind, so on the wall turn, you have Zod being extremely fast, Gaz being extremely fast, and then the B-Snagger boys and the Snaggers being relatively fast when they disembark, But on top of that, the Snagger boys have a different profile. They have great access, great utility by getting 5+, critical 5+. So then they'll have sustained lethal 5+ on that turn from gas. So they're a very devastating punching unit, unlike another unit of boys, which, like we've talked about in the past, you have another unit of 20 boys, you're paying for 2 characters generally to try to be even close to efficient as 20 Snaggers, and it costs more. So in this case, he just pays for that. So you have another unit that's devastating for the 5+ crits, devastating for Makari's ability to take advantage of it. And then it has cunning but brutal. So that means this unit can fall back and charge, which definitely does come up in this event as he talks about it. And that's just so much threat overload for the enemy to deal with. They have to deal with Gaz, they have to deal with Zod, because usually Zod's so far in their deployment zone that they're trying to allocate getting rid of him too off objective. Then you have Snaggers that still, if somehow people can get damage on him or touch him, then they're going to just fall back and start charging throughout the rest of the game. So that is devastating, and that does come up. And I've absolutely loved that triple mob threat with their own utility built in there as well. So imagine the speed, the staging, the threat overload, and great OC. As for, so let's go into his actual path to victory, his matchups, and then we'll go over some of his notes. But let's see. We said Blood Moon's Murder with $10 super chat. Whoa, thank you very much. Super supportive. He said the fact more DACA and a hunt did well lately that had a path of victory is still possible. Glad the Ulcer nightmare is over. So people still make stuff work. Mark Perry is unique in his own way, but he did have to mess with that detachment for a while. That just means that sure, you're not going to, maybe qualify for worlds with a Oddmore Doculus, but you can win your local events. You can win your crusades. You can win against your local friends. You can do all those things if you just put your squig juice brain to the shroom cap gray wall, right? Great green. And you can actually come up with ideas and innovate. And we're here to help you kind of do that. So thank you very much, Murder. And yeah, my eyes doing better. I can actually see. So thank you. Yeah, guys. So it's exciting because I know I got excited to see a bunch of, rigs, and I'm excited to see 20-man snagga mobs, which have been amazing alongside gas since Index Hammer. But now I feel like it's an absolutely great time to be using them. So let's look at his path to victory. So this was a relatively small event. I think it was like 40 people, but still, I actually enjoyed his lift, and I wanted to go over everything. So let's go to his first matchup. Let's show his enemy, and then I'll just talk about the notes that he had real quick. So this one was against Adeptus Mechanicus. He had Cohort Cybernetica. This is Belisario's Call, double Data Smiths, and then a Tech Priest, followed by a Techno-Archaeologist. Devil Rangers, followed by these big bricks of Castle and robots. Now, he did say that the robots were threatening because he didn't really deal with their Overwatch because they had double flame. They all had flamers on them. But the opponent was so worried about the speed of Gaz and Zod that he kind of stayed back. Now, keep in mind, this was, I should have said this earlier, but this was Mission J, which is Lichpin, Search and Destroy, and it was layout 3. So of course the opponent had to be very scared, right? Because Gaz, if he goes first, can just run him down. He got infiltrators to take that space. So he deployed them kind of far back, and ultimately our friend here did actually get to his robots with Zagrat to tar pit them to stop them from being able to overwatch Gaz unit. So great job there. Then we have one unit of the Sky Stalkers, followed by some Cerberus Raiders. These guys are super annoying with their scout, right? So that's why sometimes Mandos could be cool because they can stop something like this stupid unit from getting in your deployment zone and move blocking some of your big units. Then we have Sakaran Infiltrators, followed by Scorpius Disintegrators, 3 of those. One of these has a chance, like there's a chance he can kill a Hunter Rig, for example, but it's not reliable, right? I mean, unless he like oats it with Belisarius Cole and gets, I mean, it's just not reliable, which is the beauty of the Hunter Rig compared to like a truck, even though, of course, the capacity is too. But for the cost, right? The cost is great. Of course, we know a battle wagon will tank it, but the enemy will kind of bait to that. Nonetheless, how this one goes is kind of what I alluded to earlier, right? So how I alluded to earlier was game 1, the AdMac player knew what was going on. He staged kind of pretty far back. He ended up sending Zod turn 1 to tar pit the robots, which meant on turn 2 he wad and full send and ended up in his enemy's deployment zone and just kept them there the whole game. Very quick, very clean. We love when matchups go that way, especially early into an event. So great job there. But then we go into his second matchup, which I do have that one right here. So this was going into Chaos Knights. So in this one, he told me the mission as well. He gets through the first 2 games quick. So he was going mission Q, supply drop, sweeping engagement on layout 3. He said it was a little weird. There was a weird shooting lane. So he had to be somewhat conservative because of the shooting knight. So he had 1 Lancer, a Knight Distractor. I don't know. I guess I can't read it right now. 1 Knight Tyrant, which is the one like he said he had to be worried about for the shooting. He just called him Shooting Knight. He had a Brigand, a Carnivore, double Stalkers, and then double Beast of Nurgles. Double Nurglings with 1 Beast of Nurgle, and then a Sloppy Bile Piper. Did he have Plague? Okay, for some reason I thought he had Plague Bears, but I guess not. So for how this one went is, you can see how Gaz would be devastating in this, and Knights do have to cooperate and kind of fight you at some point. But he did have shooting, and because it was layout 3, there was some good shooting lanes. He said he had to be conservative, but ultimately he sent his Hunter Rig forward towards the center objective just to start getting stuff going. And he thought maybe the big Shooting Knight would shoot him and try to pop it, but instead the Shooting Knight popped the truck, and the one with the tank buses and the flash gets all the guys that were inside the truck got out. They were safe. And then he ended up charging the rig with a small carnivore, which meant in response, our get heroic with Zagrat to kind of hold the carnivore there so that after the Hunter rig got destroyed, that the unit couldn't be piled into and start punched, as well. So because I think he let's see. Oh, and then he also used a other big knight. So that's what it was. It was a carnivore and his other big knight. So which one was it? I think this one right here. I think it was a knight distractor, right? So he heroic to stop the knights from being able to, get into his 20-man unit that was disembarking. So great job of using the heroic to stop the enemy's second unit from piling into your boys, right? So what the enemy was trying to do was charge it with 2 knights, pop it, and then have the other knight pile into the 20-man unit of Snaggers, get the initiative, and try to kill half the unit. Instead, he heroic with Zagra, held that unit there, made him kill it, and then in response, he just was like, okay, it doesn't really matter in this case. Even if your unit consolidates, because then the enemy knight could still consolidate into the 20 Snaggas, because he had cunning but brutal, it meant that his 20 Snagga boys were able to fall back the following turn and still crack him and just destroy him. So in response, once that little shenanigans happened, he just declared a wall next turn because there was big knights there. Gaz made it all the way downfield to make contact with his shooting big knight and then cleaned up half his army on that turn. So nice and clean, direct, good use of heroic interventions there. One of the most underutilized stratagems for orcs, in my opinion, right? Somewhere along, I think rapid ingress is now, orcs have definitely caught on to it. So I'm going to say now, I think the most underutilized stratagem for orcs is heroic intervention from the orc community. I had to guess, which makes sense because we're not that durable. So it's not like you want to heroic with everything. We don't get a lot of fallbacks and such, right? But in this case, love cutting. Did my screen just disappear? It did momentarily. So let's move to his third game. This is where we start getting spicy. This is where he takes his draw. So in this case, he was playing. Make sure I get this right. Yep. In this game, he was playing Mission K, Scorched Earth, Search and Destroy Layout 3. So if you look at this one, I don't have the brought up right now, but if you look at how layout 3 is if you're search and destroy, that means if you're fast, you can cut angles and shoot. And that's exactly what happened here. So we'll talk about the list, and then we'll tell you how devastating his turn 1 was. The Tau just took a huge chunk of flesh off this kid. So we have an Ethereal followed by a Strike Team, double Devilfish, 1 Ghost Keel, a Hammerhead Gunship, a Pathfinder unit, another Pathfinder unit, another Pathfinder unit, 1 Piranha, Triptide, so triple Riptide battle suits, 1 Skyray Gunship, and then 2 units of stealth suits, followed by 1 Vespid. So how this went is, of course, and this is funny because we talked about this when we did Tom Godfrey out in the UKTC and our gets out here when talking to even Steven and everybody like that. Tau right now are cooking, right? They got a lot of units, a lot of shooting, a lot of tanks, a lot of scouting, infiltrate, mobility. GW favorite shooting terrain big time right now. So a lot of orc players have been dealing with the same thing. So be on the lookout, kids, if you're playing Tau for this right now. But what ended up happening here is that the opponent was able to scout his Devilfish, and then the Pathfinders get them right in front of him. I think they have an auto 6 advance as well, and they can get out and shoot because of Devilfish data shade ability. So he said ultimately what happened was the Tau player killed 7 of his units on the top of turn 1. So he killed his Hunter Rig, his Mandos that were combat squatted, a truck, the Flash Kits, the Tank Busters, the Shock Attack Gun, and they killed all of the boys in Gaz's unit, but only kept Gaz and the Big Mac alive because of Artist Nails. Crazy, right? And that's what's been happening to a lot of gets we've been hearing about. But that doesn't mean the game's over. That doesn't mean you concede. And that's what he said. He said, well, at one point I almost considered like conceding, right? He was like, dude, I lost so much stuff for turn 1. I was like, maybe I concede. But let us remember what I said. This is Scorched Earth. So he said, my opponent, my roommate's not ready yet. I'm just gonna keep playing. Let's get stuck in. So he kept playing. And he said ultimately, by the end of it, Zod, Maz were able to hold along alongside Gaz and to keep it to a tie. Because it was Scorched Earth, he was still continually able to store 10s every turn and was still scoring some secondaries. Ultimately, by the end of it, he had also burnt an objective just like his opponent and somehow came up even at the end with secondary. So because of Scorched Earth, because he kept playing the mission, and because he had solo Maz, right? He gave Maz credit there, saying Maz was holding the line, cutting down stuff taking saves, Zod running up the field, flipping objectives, getting secondary stuff like that. He was able to still continue to hold on to this and come through with a draw after you losing 7 units on turn 1. So that's actually how he ends his day 1. He ends with the draw. He ends up taking that draw. Let's see, we had it 85. So if you guys can see over here, he had an 85, 89 going into that. Oop, make sure I take these out because I don't need to have all this stuff. So then we go into his day 2. So day 2, he starts off with his game going into Leagues of Voltan. So this day on day 2, they're playing layout 8. So let's go into his opponent on that, which is Leagues of Voltan. It's Hammers of Ragnar, whatever they're called. Okay, so we have Iron Master, a Strategist, and then Uthar, followed by 3 Big 10 units of the Zerker. So keep in mind, Zerkers have the fight on death. They have to roll for it, so it's like a 4-up. And then this Mole Launcher usually hits on 6s. It's indirect, but it can make you slow on like a 4+, like our Squid Launchers can. So pretty effective unit. They have good punching, really cheap for what they do. So kind of like the backbone of Leagues of Voltan right now. Then we have the Warrior unit, the Combat Squad. We have this new Carrier, which is like they took over there where they're Sagittars, even cheaper, but they have a Sagittar as well. So then we have 2 units of Brokir Thunderkin of 3-man units, followed by 2 Fortresses, a Pine, and then 2 units of Pioneers and a Jaeger. So he brought a good amount of vehicles, and then most of his infantry are these big thick boy berserkers, right? They're feeling no pains. Do they still feel no pains? They still do. As for what he said, this one was pretty cool. And he said, well, I didn't know. I knew that the berserker for me issue because they're fed on death. And I knew the opponent had a little bit more shooting than me than I liked, and I didn't really want to deal with that. So he said, I made the risky play. I called the turn 1 WAAAGH. Since he was going second, as in the Ork player, our friend here, he actually was able to see that the Leagues of Voltan player was kind of disrespectful and just kind of moved out into midfield. It's not necessarily he's being disrespectful. I'm kind of joking. Leagues of Voltan are notoriously slow, so they have to move up. And how they play is they essentially make a line with all their stuff and say, come get it. We're kind of tough. We're not that fast. And, fight back and try to dig you off us. But what happened here was, I went through this. What's happened here was that he made the WAAAGH, turn 1. He got Zod so far up the field that he ended up charging his bikers, picking them up, consolidating, and making a huge wall between the enemy's most efficient combat unit and Gaz. Right? So essentially, because Zod went out first in front of Gaz and made charges, and then Gaz followed up and made charges, that once Zod piled in, made his big charge, piled in, consolidated, and moved across the field, he made a big, almost like umbrella in front of the Gaz unit, which meant these berserkers had to go into the Zod unit. And in response, he only killed 6 of them because, from what I remember, these guys hit on 4s generally, from what I remember. So he only killed about 6 of Zod's units because Zod's always -1 to wound. And then they had the 5-up info. And in response, his Zod unit ended up, and Zod with Zod alongside them, ended up killing the entire Berserker unit, right? Because you're still standing within Gaz's lethal aura. You're still getting 5+ sustain. You're still, if for some reason he popped critical 5+, you're able to do that. And it's just a bunch of dumb volume of punches, and he just rolled poorly and just died. So he ended up killing some of those guys as well. And from that point, because he still had Gaz pretty much mostly intact and he had taken up the mid-table, he just continued to charge down this player's throat and got 100 points in his game 5. 74. So then we move into his game 5. So Charles is doing a great job right now. And then he goes into Chaos Demons. So here we have the triple, what is it, quadruple birds? So it's 4 birds and the Be'lakor. So he's going into Tantalizing Legion. So this was Mission M, Purge the Foe, Crucible of Battle, and Layout 8 as well. So he said, he never played against the birds or the demons at all. So he was like, I don't even understand what's happening here. So we have the Tantalizing oh my God. Scintillating Legion. God, I can't even say it. Scintillating. I've played against this, and it's so funny. I can't say the name now. Be'lakor, Fate Weaver, and then Triple Order Change. These are just big bird demons with good shooting. They have flat 3 damage. They can strength 10. Yada yada yada. And then Be'lakor stops them from getting shot. And then the detachment itself gives them buffs. They can get like sustained D3, and then they or something, and then they can be picked up if you touch them and kind of like redeploy and a bunch of little shenanigans. It's funny because the detachment also gives you like these tokens so you can act as kind of like acts as a CP reroll for certain stuff. So that's pretty fun. He has a unit of 10 plague bears, a beast of Nurgle, double flamers, and then double screamers. That's the entirety of the list, because the issue, the whole point of this list is that these guys have capability indirect, the name guy can, and then all of them have good shooting, strength, and they can get up to decent volume with the sustain access. And then Be'lakor can't shoot them back, so it's good into like elite infantry and stuff. But Orks love running down this kind of army, so that's kind of what happens here. So he says, I never played into that, but ultimately I understood what the enemy could do, so I hit Gaz's unit back, scared about his puppet master shooting. And on the big go turn, he made contact with Gaz into Be'lakor. He was tried to, excuse me. He tried to make contact with Gaz Be'lakor, but he re-rolled his advance into a 1. And instead he went to Beast of Nurgle. But he said that had ended up working out because he was able to slingshot into his wall of plague bears, instead pile into them and pile into the Lord of Change, which is in his deployment zone. He said Zod went and stole his enemy's home objective, and while the Beast boss 20-man unit of Snagas was able to kill Kairos and injure Be'lakor greatly. In response, because the enemy has to do damage by association, and it has to by association, right? By multiple units. Sorry, it's a collective, right? And then his one bird can definitely not wipe out 20 Snaggaboys. And even though you touch them, they can be picked up, and I think they can shoot you in combat, so they can get around being touched. But the issue is they still have to focus. So in this response, he just focused on Gaz's unit and wasn't able to kill Zod, who just kept his primary down. And at that point, he started to run away with the score. So the enemy conceded all the mid table. And so he took that concession of the table and just stuck all the boys in his face and said, even if I can't kill you, I'm going to touch my stuff, and I can kill your little stuff that's going to be used for scoring and not allow you to play the mission. Gotta love having 20 Snaggas and Gaz and Zod when you go into Greater Demons, because you can run them down, you can blend them up with lethals, and then kind of just stay on their face and artist nails, fight on death, whatever you got to do in response. So awesome win there. He ended up getting a 86 point there for getting second overall. So shout out to Charles, and thank you for sending this. I love the list. I love to see a Hunter rig. I love to see a Maz. To some degree, right? Other players might look at this and say, well, let's say that you showed this list on like a Discord or a Reddit or a Facebook or whatever, your friends. There's something to say that someone would tell you, even I might say, right, is, well, Maz is maybe a little fat that can be cut, right? Or the Hunter rig can be upgraded to a battle wagon if you just simply cut Maz. Right, there's little concessions there that people could say, you might want to not. I would say the difference is what I'm trying to point out here is that what people would tell you to do, and Charles didn't do that. He just went with what he wanted to do, the list that he favored, the units that he favored, the combos that he felt strong with, and he still ran through with this and had an excellent result, right? So the point here is that even though someone might tell you on social media or what you see from some of these videos is, well, Maz and Hunter rigs aren't efficient enough. They're not good units. You can't use them. If they're on your list, you're not being competitive. You're a casual. That's simply not true. That's simply not true, and that's something we always try to show here. So some thoughts from Charles, by the way, on his MVP units and stuff to close this out. Was he said Zod was indispensable and he played a pivotal role in every game when it came to threatening or stealing their home objective. He said the Beast Snaggle Boss brick was super important with cunning but brutal. When it came to killing stuff like a Hammerhead, a Riptide, a Kairos, it was a really, really big deal. He said, of course, the Big Mac and Gaz are a huge unit when it comes to killing, but ultimately it's the amount of tension they take, right? The fact that the enemy has to revolve their entire deployment and game plan around this one unit means that they're going to concede a lot of the table. Then you're stacking that alongside a Zod and a Snaggaboy brick, where it's like, well, you have to concede all of that space now, which is crazy. And that's what kind of ended up happening sometime. He said there was something big to say about the fact that he was using 20-man units of Snaggas as well. instead of 2x10. He said that he agreed with the advice that sometimes you just need the big brick to soak Overwatch, um, for it have some emergency disembarks, have some random wounds to be able to survive being punched by something tough. The 10 man was more of a skirmish piece, but that's not why he's bringing the Snagus and the boss. He said, I'm bringing the Snagus and the boss to eat greater demons, meters, and other big tough things like Catans. So he said typically he doesn't even play War Horde. He's playing Bully Boys, but for this, they weren't using the buffs good enough, and that's why he moved into this. He also had some thoughts about the Sakatek gun and the tank busters. He said they did pop off and kill, the land fortress, and they did were able to finish and hurt some greater demons and finish off some greater demons once they closed the distance. So he did not think about changing them. As I said, the one thing he did think about changing was WAAAGH, but ultimately nothing is good enough trade for him. So really, he didn't say anything that was what he was trying to get rid of. That just, maybe if he wanted a wagon, he could do the same thing as a hunter rig, but the cost of it was fantastic and that it was worth it. So ultimately, not too much changing on this list. Great job, Charles. Thank you for this. And I think a lot of people could be inspired by this. A lot of people have 20 Snegas, running gas. People have been sleeping on rigs or whatever. You can sleep a Maz off there. He kind of acts like a demon prince. He's not a lone op and he can't fly and he's not as good reliably, but he's still cool for what Orks got, and I'm glad that he still had fun bringing him. So thank you for that, Charles, and of course thank you to our Get Flynn for 5 Wall Tactic gifted memberships. Whoa! Thank you to the Gits right now being super supportive with what we're doing. So thank you guys for that. Let's go to the honorable mentions while I look over some of these super chats and reviews because it's time to actually see what you guys voted for. But thank you, Flynn, for supporting the Great Wall. It means a lot, We're trying to make it big and do more out here, and it's difficult sometimes. So thank you very much for the support. It means a lot, especially after I've been gone for a little bit. So shout out to Flynn. He's always been around, always been very helpful, just like our boy Jay Hune, very supportive. Whoa, we're getting super support today right now. So thank you very much, Jay Hune, for that. Nice to see you get always participating in all our events and such. So I'm happy to see that. And thank you very much for the love. Speaking of, we need everybody to really vote right now in chat, especially for 2 reasons. One, if you're getting a super chat, you got to say, a membership, you got to say thank you and put a little gas in chat for all the great war bosses. But our poll is very, very close. We're tied with 2 detachments. I need y'all to vote. There's more Gits in here that can vote. So I give you guys another minute to vote on that as I thank you the super chat gets. So thank you very much to that. And of course, Arcane with the peer pressure, he said, "Oh, thank you. You don't have to do that. You guys always show love as it is." But another 5 Watt Tactic memberships. You guys encouraging me, and also the poll surprising me because I wasn't sure about putting the new detachment on here, and people want to see the new detachment. It seems like keep voting, guys. I got to know, which means right now that my eye can see and I can play again, of course, I'm going to be playing the new detachment. That's what I'm taking to an event. That's what I'm going to have fun with. Show it off in RTT, some local, play that game, get some bat reps of that. So thank you very much to you guys, to Arcane, to Flynn, to Jehun, but of course, very much to Gary DC with a $20 super chat. What is that love? My goodness, we haven't seen a big influx like that in forever. So thank you very much, Gary. That's huge, generous. Everybody says, in your opinion, my opinion, if someone has a large Ork collection and can make just about any build, do you believe a player could always find a list competitive? Yeah, for sure. Do you believe an Ork player can make just about any build? Do you believe that player could always find a competitive list? Yeah, for sure. For sure. Because if you have the variety, there's at least one big skew in the 6 to 7 of the top detachments that we have, right? Because now we have like 10, something ridiculous, which is crazy because most armies, like if you look at World Eaters, for example, right? World Eaters have like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 detachments, and they play one forever. That's all you're ever gonna see. But if you're an Ork player, you have so many odd skew armies you can run into. You can run skew, the Hunt, skew Warhord, skewed Cult of Speed, skew Dread Mom, right? You can run odd Stompa stuff. You can run a bunch of killicans. You can just run some weird stuff and always have a great result. Of course, you could green tide at any time. So yeah, you can always play each detachment to their most absolute meme top skew foolery to just be somewhat competitive, because that's like the most generic way to be competitive. And then on top of that, if you play anything, then that means you can play one detachment and really figure it out. So you can end up like we were talking about Steven earlier. You can end up being like the guys we're showing here with Cult of Speed, that even though there's a list that I like, his list is even more different than my list was in its own way that I liked a lot. So yeah, I absolutely think you can always find something to play. Always do it. Always. Always don't ever let people tell you you have to play one version. There's even kill rigs can be played and such like that. And competitive to me means that you can always reach your goal that you're trying to reach. If you're like, I always need to be 5-0, no one's always going to be 5-0, so that can never be your goal anyways. So if you're like, I need to be 4-1, yeah, dude. If you own everything, you could be a psycho green tide player. You could be someone playing one of these multi-mob War Horde lists that we were talking about. You could be a cycle that really figured out how to play 18 killicans, like I've shown before, that we've seen on the channel before, and you play Dread Mob so much that you figured that out in your local events. Like, it's totally true, totally possible. And thank you for that. I think people need to realize that you can always play this kind of stuff, and that's what's really cool about Orks. And speaking of, right, I'm gonna take a swig of water, and then I'm gonna see what the final result is for this vote, because that's crazy. Because bunch of super chats. We can see a bunch of Gazes in chat right now. Let's get some Gaz in chat. We should have more of that. We were given like 15 memberships, at least 20 memberships, because Bad Dog 2 and a super chat. It's going crazy right now, guys. I'm trying to withhold my energy. But with that being said, let's look at this poll. Let's see what people actually want to see getting played. Because the great WAAAGH has spoken. And that's also like why I like to do this live in this case, because it's like for the people here, they get to say. And for the end of the poll, boom, the winner is the Freebooter Krew. Whoa. So that did surprise me, but I'm also happy, right? And that's why I love this community, because they're in the similar mindset as me. Because the fact that I never put 3 and 2 ones, right? I never, you guys know that if you watch this, I like never put up 3 and 2 lists. But I did it for the wall, because I knew people wanted to see, what the new detachment would do possibly, and could do, what it would look like. And I also did it because it's not about just, what is good, or a good performance is subjective, right? Some people think going 3 and 2 and only losing to the best guys is a good performance overall, right? If my friend did that, a local guy or someone that I was talking to on the Discord, whatever, I would say good job, right? If they had a list like this, and then I can't say his name, so we're gonna have a great time me saying his name horribly. But Vinicus, he was like, I'm gonna just go out for a great spin and take it for a spin, and he did. So let's see. Let me pull this up, make sure I got everything. So let me put this out. Ook. All right. And the great chat has spoken. So here we have, it was at the Springs Thunder Cluckers GT. So it's like a 70, 80 person event. So Steven right here, it's at third place. We already talked about that. Check that one out. But our get down here, didn't escape the eyes of Gork and Mork out here. I was able to find him. Got 23rd. So great job still getting in the top percentage, but going 3 and 2. Like I said, the people he did lose to did end up in the top 5 as well. So no shame there. Let's take a look at his games. So he went into, let me see. I actually just got another thought, guys. Well, it's related to this, don't worry. But I just got another thought. I might be able to know what some of these missions were. So let's look at his list real quick. Freebooter Krew, let's go. Gaz. I didn't give it a name from what I can see, besides here be Luton. So cool job there. Look right here. Number of units, 22. Ooh, you already got a hint of what's going on here. So it's Gazgul, Thraka, and Boss Snickrat, followed by Zagrat, War Snag. Boom. The epic trio. That's what I'm talking about. Then he goes hard here with 6. Yes. 6 10-man units of the boys. What I should say also about this event, oh no, I already called them on it. That was GW, just so you guys know. All right. Is because some of the lists on the honorable mention weren't GW, right? I'm pretty sure. the Televista or Novista event was WTC events. So sorry for my own thought. Sorry, guys. You know, this is live. So we got 6 10-man units of boys starting off. So we got that alongside Gaz. Then we have a battle wagon with the Ard case, followed by 5 burner boys, a super Gretchen unit, and then 2 10 units of Gretchen, 1 unit of commandos, 2 units of commandos. Yes. So he didn't go full 3 like Perry, but he did stick with me and get that 20. I feel you on that. 20. Then he had 1 5-man units of Ludas, 1 big 6-man units of Mega Knobs, followed by 3 5-man units of Storm Boys, and 1 3-man units of War Bikers. So Gaz, you know, we play. This is just my assumption based off what I'm looking at, what I've talked to you gets about. You guys all see here, but I'm sure you guys see it with me. This is the Mork Perry archetype. We'll call this just the Morkatype. We're going to call it right now. Okay, just leave it that way. Make it easier for all of us. So the Morkatype is you have Gaz trying to pop his WAAAGH on objective, looted objectives, and giving out lethal aura, and or as other people alluded to, these 10-man units touch objectives and they missile off them. Pretty much how I see it is all these units are I give Gaz the wall and then everybody else runs forward. Right? And just keeps getting lethal. I get a bunch of OC. I'm playing the mission. I'm playing the table. That's crazy. Right. And so I'm absolutely pumped. Right. So I think I know what these missions were. Yep. Okay. I think for the most part. So I give a little bit of context. I won't know everything, but I'll do my best, right? So we'll get through this. He gets so as for his first game, he was playing Take and Hold. And I believe this was layout 6. All right. So you play Take and Hold Mission A for his first game. So you guys know we need a little bit of context here, right? To at least see what the heck this git was doing. So he went into the Death Watch with the Black Spear Task Force. So we had Apothecary Biologist, a Captain of Jump Pack, Lieutenant with Combi, and a Watchmaster. He had a 5-man unit of Death Watch Veterans, a 10-man unit, and then a 5-man unit of Terminators, followed by another 5-man unit of Terminators, an Indomitor Kill Team, a 5-man Infiltrator Squad, another 5-man Infiltrator Squad, a Talon Strike Kill Team, a Vanguard veteran with Jump Pack Squad, and a bunch of various war gear. So I'm not going over all the war gear and separating them because I get one. So this was taking hold into Death Watch where he got a 92-point win. But then we go into his second game where he actually takes a loss. I then give a little bit of context here for this one, at least a little bit. Well, first of all, it's Grizzled Company. And second of all, this was layout 6. This was mission M, which is Purge the Foe Crucible Battle on layout 6. So not that excellent. So we had to go against Grizzled Company, which is the top tier guard detachment right now. It's like perfect combined arms and such. So we have Cadian Command Squad, 2 of those, followed by a Commissar, a Militant. Does he have the enhancement? So this we can give another order. Then he has Militant Tempestus Squad, followed 2 of those, or 3 of those. So he has 3 Tempestus squads. So, oh my god, I don't feel like breaking down what this does. We have Nork Dead Dock and then a Rogaldorn Commander. We have 1 unit of Cadian, 1 unit of Catachan, a big unit of Adelan Rough Riders, followed by a 5-man unit of Adelans, and then double bricks of Bulgrin, some Rattlings for infiltration, a Rogaldorn, and then 3 5-man units of Tempestus Scion. So just think of it as you have Rattlings, you have the Catachans that can scout, you have this little stuff that can move forward, you have the Raiders that can run around the corner and charge you. You have the Bulgrin that could just take the mid table and soak up attacks, have a good amount of punches themselves, quite durable. They can take orders, they can give more OC, they can punch better. Then you also have all these deep striking Tempestus Scion squads dropping in and shooting you, as well as taking orders from Rogaldorns that are shooting at you. And then just all the command squads going around. And you have Nork Dead Dog command squad that can kind of run around and fight as well. So yeah, it's very a lot going on here. Very devastating, very tough. And as for I said, like this mission, it was purge, so you wouldn't really necessarily love to see that as an orc. But still, it was a good game nonetheless. He didn't get just completely blown out. But if you're playing with 22 units and then you're playing into something like that, which can effectively have a lot of activations and multi-phase activations from their charging cavalry, well then that can be a problem. Nonetheless, I'm pretty sure the guy that beat him won the event. Or so then we go into his third game, which was Dark Angels, Unforgiven Task Force. So this mission, let me try to make sure. Let's see what this one was, um, before I forget to look it up. But it was Mission J, and I feel like I know that off the top of my head, but I don't want. Okay, so it's Linchpin, Search and Destroy, and this is also layout 6. So we have Asriel, Judiciar, Librarian, Phobos, Lieutenant, and then a Lieutenant in combi, followed by an Intercessor squad, one big brick of Jump Pack Assault Intercessors. We have a big brick of Centurion Devastators, Infiltrator squad, some double inner circle companions, Invader ATV, Stern Guards. Yeah, big brick of Stern Guard, followed by a Vanguard with Jump Pack duo 5-man units. Okay, so he has some good jump packs. He has inner circles. Not he's some Devastators, Centurions, but he's not playing with his Terminators or with the Lion. It's a little different. Which he still has a Judiciar for fight first. Nonetheless, a ton of activations for this. And though inner circles in this detachment, they'll get like -1 to wound. I think they're -1 to hit. This is where the volume of units and random power claws and lethals come through and kind of slowly blend down all these units, because a lot of them are just 4-up armor, like T4 units with infantry on foot, and then they have their built-in detachment rules, so they'll be like -1 to wound. But when you have orcs, you just have a dumb amount of volume into that with that style that he was playing, right? The style that our boy playing with Gaz, having it all theme, low score from that one. So yeah, low score because you see he got like a 52 for his win, so a lot going on there. But yeah, so maybe in my opinion, because what was that, Mission J, could be that they got low on time there, my opinion, because they didn't get to play the final. I think because you would cap more primary there, I think. But whatever. Then we move on to his fourth game. So mind you, he didn't lose right away. Again, he goes on to have another game. His fourth game is where he gets another 98-point win here. So this is when they change it. This is layout 1 now, and then this is mission O. So this is Terraform Crucible Bow. Ooh, this list is devastating on Terraform. He's playing Leagues of Voltan. Oof. So we have Grimnir, triple Broknir Thunderkin, 2 big units of Berserkers, 3 units of Einhir Hearthguard, triple Land Fortress, a Pioneer Squad, and then 2 units of melee Steeljacks. So this one is a big deal because he can get Terraform with all these different units that he has. Terraform early if he goes first. Leagues of Eltan usually have to jump you with multiple units to clear a whole orc unit. How this list is played, the Morkatype, like we're calling it, that our boy Vinicus is running, is he just has so many units that you kill some of a unit, maybe pulls them out of line of sight. The rest unit can still go up and fight, still appreciates the lethal. And he's staging missiling off units from his battle wagon in the meantime. So if he has to slow play at all for some of his units, they can missile out, like the Storm Boys, auto advance 6, start getting in the way, start getting in fights, jumping, attacking certain units, trying to draw out overwatches and stuff. And Leagues of Voltan is not that fast. So if they come forward, they're eating a full wall with 20-some units if they can get all in contact. And if they try to slow play it, then Orks just kind of creep towards them because it was layout 1, right? So from what I understand, yeah. So this is layout 1 at this point. So he has to kind of, kind of play that mid-table part. It is Search and Destroy as well, right? No, I'm wrong. It is Terraform, like I said. So it's Crucible Battle. So pretty aggressive positioning there. Very much so. So Leagues of Voltan guy kind of had to deal with that, and he just couldn't. So 98-point win there. Love to see it. And then we move on to his last game. So for his last game, he goes into, and let me say the mission. So the mission was mission D, which is Scorched Earth Tipping Point. And I believe this was layout 1 as well. So Scorched Earth, Tipping Point. So primary there that the enemy can just have. So we have Depths Custodes, Talons of the Emperor. So we have Calidius Assassin, Draxus, some Custodian Guard units. One is they're both spears, but one's a bigger unit. Then we have another big unit, but this one has the actual Vexilla. And then 2 more of them with Vexillas as well in the Misericordia. So he has 3 maximum units of Guardians and then 3 minimum size units. Or not minimum, sorry. 150 point units of Guardians. Are these 4 main units? Yeah. So then we go into the prosecutors, double prosecutors, and then triple land raiders, with triple venerable land raiders, and then a witch seeker. So you can kind of see some of the problems here. One is that he doesn't have anything to threaten at range, so all this stuff can just deploy on the line. And this was, like I said, one, he's gonna obviously not be able to swing primary, even though he would like to, with all these boys that he has, right? If you can play, if you could play Custodes and a mission where you guys both meet in the mid table, and then sure you start losing the outcome of the fight, but you're flipping primary on that one, they're not scoring as they're killing you, and you're retaining the middle objectives, then sure you can kind of pull it out on Custodes. But when it comes to it's Scorched Earth, that they can just keep taking their 10, maybe harass yours and throw all their other assets to try to harass yours so you can't keep it, or it's just that they come out in the end and they just put up more points because they tabled you because they have so much killing, because he's actually has just volumes of units, which isn't so typical with them. He has Coward Jax's for double shooting. All you guys have double shooting. So it is one of those matchups where though our boy's playing somewhat of a skew with the Ork type, all this stuff is, the boys are getting blended. The Mandos can kind of get blended. And then in response, you just got Storm Boys and War Bikers. And of course, you can deal with them when you're dealing with lethals enough, but then it's not really paying off on the primary in that mission because it's Scorched Earth. Right. In my opinion, that's kind of what could have been the downfall there. So excellent job nonetheless. I was very excited for this list. I'm really glad that chat looked over it. If you guys want me to see anything, you guys, I can still cover it. If you guys want me to say anything else on it that you think I missed to see, but I think Mark Perry himself already discussed how these work. So if you look at that, look at here, you'll see what's going on. Arcane was like, "Are we sure this gets in Mark Perry in Groucho glasses?" Right? He's just trying to hide. It's me, Vinicus Calabari. And like, yeah, maybe that is a made up name, right? You're right, Arcane. I was kidding. I was just joking, bro. I'm not trying to inspire a name either. But yeah, nonetheless, as we said too, yeah, those Mega Knobs always have the feel no pain from Gaz. I love it. That's what I like about it too. I personally have been playing that. Keeps your profile smaller. Also, I can auto advance 6 them into like better staging positions if I want to. If I'm using the redeploy enhancement, I can if I know I'm going first, I can redeploy them to a front line and then move into a staging position, and they're still a smaller profile, so other stuff can fit there too, like layout 1. So yeah, I'm totally for it. And I'm here for it. I'm excited. So thank you for that. Shout out to the honorable mentions. And speaking of, we have 40K Dirtbag. Whoa, to the Green Tide boss. Let's go. So Green Tide, is doing well because I get right here 40K Dirtbag. We got to do our collab soon. My eyes healed and we're back. So let's get stuck in with that. I'm excited to talk about your Green Tide, your list, your run, how you feel about Orks compared to other hordes, right? So that's something I've definitely always wanted to see, because you don't really often see someone who's like competitive with other factions move into a less competitive, quote unquote, faction with Orks, like Orks, and then say like, well, I actually happen to be very good in this type of archetype, which is hordes, which is what 40K Dirtbags is good at, right? And to do that, it's very uncommon, from what I've seen. So I think it'll be a really fun talk regardless, and I'm really happy for you. And and he says, my best horde faction so far. Whoa, huge compliment to the great Orks and the great WAAAGH. So yeah, dude, we'll have a great chat about that, and just I want to hear your point of view of someone who's coming into Orks and what you think about them and how your list held up. It would be a great talk, right? And it's like Arcane said, it's a counter meta archetype. And speaking of, Tiger Melt 5 WAAAGH Tactic memberships. Whoa, the Tiger Melts always around since the beginning, always showing love and showing super love today by throwing some spores out to the great green. So we have about 25 super chats coming out here, you guys. We get some Gaz is in chat. Some members going hard right now because I need to make some members content, boys. That's it. I'm done waiting. So with that being said, there's only one thing to keep in mind is thank you very much, Tiger Mouse. Thank you much for all the supporting gets. But it's time to get stuck in, lads, because there's only one thing to keep in mind is don't cross our wall because we'll knock your teeth out. Whoa.